Hey, what's going on, gaming world? I'm your host, Gamestradamus, and welcome to my exciting new series, Gamer 101. Now, this is an interactive series that is going to focus on all the top tips and tricks that I think could very much benefit the games you play. Now, this episode is going to focus on Battlefield Bad Company 2, but a lot of these tips you can use in all the first-person shooter games that you use. So without further ado, get a pen and paper, sit back, boys and girls, because gaming school is now in session. Let's get to our first video. So there are a lot of tips and tricks to cover, but I thought that I would start with the basics and work our way up. That is why I want to talk about reloading first. Now, reloading is really the key to any first-person shooter, and it can really make or break a lot of situations you come across. That is why it is my top advice to make sure that you are reloaded at all times. If you, for example, just killed somebody or taken a couple shots at somebody and you still have a couple bullets in your clip, well, don't move on. If you're not in immediate danger, take a couple seconds to reload your weapon, because you never know if around the next corner, all of a sudden there's a couple guys waiting for you, and if you're not fully prepared with a full clip, well, you're kind of caught with your pants down, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So always make sure you reload your weapon. And when you are reloading your weapon, it is always very important to make sure that you find cover. Do not be reloading your weapon running out and about or trying to keep an eye on the battlefield, because you're just a sitting duck. And if someone starts to fire at you and you have no weapons in your gun, well, you're completely helpless. So it is always important to make sure you reload your weapons, and it is always important to make sure that you reload your weapons behind cover. And that brings us to our second topic, moving from cover to cover. Now, the use of cover is probably the most key skill you can have as a first-person shooter player. There are three main tips I can give you to really use this more efficiently. Like I said in the first section, number one, always reload behind cover. Number two, make sure when you're moving around the map that you always move from cover to cover. Do not be running out in the open, because that leaves you very vulnerable to the enemy players. And number three, make sure if you are firing at an enemy that for the most part you are behind cover or are close to cover so that you can retreat. Think of cover as another defender, let's say. And the more defenders that you have blocking your angles and your sides, the better offensive player that you can be. Because if you have your back and your sides covered, then you can really focus on what's in front of you and spot and shoot at players a lot more efficiently. Another key advantage is if you know the maps, you can better move to and from cover. For example, if I'm in a firefight with somebody in front of me, but I know the map and I know what's behind me, I can be focusing on fighting him, but still be retreating to a situation I can get away from. That will get you out of a lot of sticky situations and keep you alive a lot longer. And if you know the map, you can also spot out enemies very well, which brings us to our third topic, how to spot enemies correctly. Spotting is an amazing system that they added in Battlefield Bad Company 2. If you're not familiar with this, if you aim at an enemy and press the select button, you will put a marker above their head. This marker can be seen by you and the rest of your squad for a set amount of time, and is very key in helping your squad to flank certain targets or situations. Now for me, I always try to mark a target before I ever fire at them. It should always be routine for you that when you see an enemy, your first reaction should be to spot them. Even if you have a clear shot at them and can take them out, that's great. But you know, things tend to happen. You might die from the side or something happens, and you want to make sure that that target is spotted. So if you don't kill them, at least your squad will be able to see them, or see them coming if they're trying to flank your squad, for example. Now, this is an amazing, amazing system, and the squad that does this the most efficiently on the map will have a huge advantage. It has always been my motto that the team that spots together stays together. And this brings us to our fourth topic, strafing. Strafing is another great tactic to have in any first-person shooter game, and take it from me, this tip has saved my ass more than anything else that I can share with you. Now, if you're not familiar with what strafing is, what I mean by that is shooting your gun from your hip and staying moving around a target versus trying to aim down your sights and shoot them. Now, in most first-person shooter games, you're able to move a lot faster when shooting from the hip than you are when aiming down your sights. Now, strafing comes up a lot when you're in close quarter combat, meaning you're coming around a corner and all of a sudden there's an enemy or two there, and you need to make that split-second decision of how you're going to approach that situation. For me, 9 times out of 10, if I run around a corner and see an enemy, I just start firing away, and then I try to strafe into some kind of cover around me. For the most part, if you are fairly accurate in doing that and you get the first couple of shots off, you 9 times out of 10 will probably win that firefight. So always keep in mind when you're running around close quarters that strafing will save your ass. And this brings us to the last topic of today, using your secondary weapons. Now, your secondary weapon is a very, very handy thing to have with you, and in most situations becomes your last line of defense. Now, I know some people are shy about using their secondary weapon because they feel it's a lot weaker than their primary weapon, and they'd rather try to reload their primary weapon. And that is true, but in some situations, the handgun becomes very, very efficient. For me, a lot of times that the handgun situation comes up is when I've entered a battle with somebody or 2 people, I've emptied my primary weapon, and another enemy has come up on me. Well, if I can't take them down with a melee right away, I will immediately switch to my handgun and try to get the drop on them. The handguns in the games are usually very accurate, and they are pretty strong. So if you are at least a little bit accurate with them, you can be pretty efficient. And back to tip number 1, if you do use your handgun, make sure that you reload it and prep for the next situation, because you never know when you're going to need that handgun again. Anyway, this does it for the first episode of Gamer 101. I hope these tips really helped you guys out, and I can promise you if you use these tips in all the games you play, your kill to death and scores will go way, way up. Anyway, if you like this, please come check out my channel, subscribe, rate, and comment, and I will see you guys on the battlefield. Good hunting out there.